The story of India's conquest is not a single tale, but a long, winding river flowing through centuries of battles, empires, and dreams. It is a story of kings and invaders, of glory and sorrow, of a land that never truly bowed, even when its crown was taken. Long ago, before the world had maps and borders, the land of India was a tapestry of kingdoms, rich, diverse, and ancient. From the snow peaks of the Himalayas to the golden sands of the Thar Desert, from the lush Bengal forests to the coastal temples of the south, India was known as Soneki Chidiya, the golden bird. Its wealth, spices, and learning drew eyes from across the seas. But with treasure comes temptation, and soon the world began to march toward India. The first winds of invasion. In 327 BCE, Alexander the Great crossed the mighty Hindu Kush. His soldiers, weary from years of conquest, looked upon the Indus Valley with awe. Here was a civilization older than Greece itself, its cities bustling with trade and art. Alexander fought fierce battles, most notably against King Porus at the river Hydaspes. Though Porus was defeated, his bravery impressed Alexander, who restored his kingdom. Yet Alexander's conquest of India was brief, a whisper of things to come. The Greeks soon turned back, but they left behind seeds of exchange, art, ideas, and stories that mingled with India's own. The Age of Empires. Centuries later, new conquerors came not with curiosity, but with ambition. The 12th century saw the rise of the Delhi Sultanate, a series of Turkic and Afghan dynasties that swept across northern India. Led by fierce warriors like Qutb-ud-Din Aibak and Alauddin Khilji, they brought new languages, architecture, and religion. Mosques rose beside temples, and Persian mingled with Sanskrit to form a new tongue, Urdu. But conquest was not just about swords. It was about shaping identity. The sultans ruled through tolerance and terror alike, weaving Islam into India's vast cultural fabric. But even as they ruled, whispers of rebellion never faded from the land. The coming of the Mughals. Then came Babur, a prince from the valleys of Central Asia. In 1526, at the Battle of Panipat, he faced the armies of the Delhi Sultanate and emerged victorious. With that victory, the Mughal Empire was born, a dynasty that would rule for over 3 centuries and leave an indelible mark on India's soul. Babur's descendants, Akbar, Jahangir, Shah Jahan, and Aurangzeb, transformed the subcontinent. Akbar, the philosopher king, sought unity between Hindus and Muslims, abolishing religious taxes and encouraging debate among scholars of all faiths. Under Shah Jahan, the world saw the birth of the Taj Mahal, a marble poem of love. But empires, like the tides, always recede. After Aurangzeb's death in 1707, the Mughal Empire fractured, leaving behind regional kingdoms in chaos, a land once united, now vulnerable. The traders who became rulers. As the Mughals waned, sails appeared on the horizon. From the seas came Europeans, Portuguese, Dutch, French, and most famously, the British. What began as trade soon turned into domination. The British East India Company, founded for commerce, soon realized that the riches of India could not be bought, they had to be controlled. In 1757, after the Battle of Plassey, the company's forces defeated the Nawab of Bengal, marking the beginning of British rule. With cunning diplomacy and ruthless efficiency, they extended their influence across the subcontinent. Indian soldiers fought under British banners. Indian rulers became puppets. It was no longer a conquest by sword alone. It was conquest by law, economy, and cunning. The British drained India's wealth, dismantled its industries, and restructured its society. Yet in doing so, they also sowed the seeds of resistance, the revolt that shook the empire. In 1857, the first great uprising erupted, the Sepoy Mutiny, also called the First War of Independence. Indian soldiers, outraged by disrespect to their religion and years of exploitation, rose against their British masters. From Delhi to Kanpur, flames of rebellion spread. For a moment, it seemed the tide might turn. But the British crushed the revolt with brutal force. The East India Company was dissolved, and India came under direct rule of the British Crown. Queen Victoria was proclaimed Empress of India, and the land was wrapped in the iron chains of the British Raj. But the Indian spirit could not be conquered forever. Out of silence rose voices: Gandhi, Nehru, Bhagat Singh, Rani Lakshmibai, and countless others who dreamed of freedom. They fought not just with weapons, but with words, ideas, and unity. The conquest that began with Alexander and ended with the British lasted over 2,000 years, but India's heart had never stopped beating. In 1947, after centuries of subjugation, India finally broke its chains. The British left, and the golden bird spread its wings once more. The legacy of conquest. Today, the story of India's conquest is not just one of loss, it is one of resilience. Every invader who came left a piece of themselves behind. The architecture of the Mughals, the language of the Persians, the railways of the British, all became part of India's vast mosaic. The land that had been conquered 1,000 times learned to conquer hearts instead. India's conquest, in truth, was never complete, because you cannot conquer a soul that believes in rebirth.